Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another episode, and this is one with a little bit of a difference. And I think both the ladies and the men in our audience will appreciate this one. But I don't want to give the game away. First, let's introduce co-host Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you. And thank you so much for tuning in to our show. You won't want to miss this episode, folks, because it's going to be a sizzler. I mean it. We are talking about sex. Yep, we are. We're going there. And specifically, we're talking about sex after menopause. And I can't wait to delve into this topic with you. And we are so privileged to welcome Dr. Carol Remz to the show. Hello, Dr. Remz. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Now, just to give a little bit of background for you, Dr. Remz has her doctorate in educational technology and has written a best-selling book entitled Best Sex Ever After Menopause. Can we hold up that book for those of you watching? There we go.
That
Best Sex
visible?
After Menopause.
Yeah, you can see it. Yep.
Her mission is to help postmenopausal women continue to have sexual pleasure well into their golden years. Today, she's here to yak with us about how she helps reawaken their sexual desires. So let's just jump right in. Why did this topic become so important to you?
Yeah. Well, when I went through perimenopause, it was 35 years ago. If I'm 80 now, I was in my mid 40s. And I had just recently remarried at 40. And when perimenopause hits women, you have the starting of your hormones
Mhm.
going away, and you'll develop vaginal dryness and usually lack of sexual desire. It doesn't happen right away. But there was nothing about menopause or perimenopause when I was going through this process. Sex is a taboo subject, and menopause is simply not taught in medical school and unspoken. So many women, including my mother and my sisters and my friends, would have going through this process think we're losing our brain and have things like night sweats and all
Mhm.
kinds of issues going on with them and not really knowing what to do and what to turn to. What's really interesting is that I learned something um, just very recently before my book came out, which was not known in the scientific community. All human beings go through a new brain when they go from a child and through puberty. All women who have pregnancy will get a new brain, and every woman who goes through menopause will get a new brain. So if you're around women who are suffering through perimenopause, having sweats and vaginal dryness and feel like they're losing their brain, they are, but they're getting a new one. This research only came out last year. Pretty phenomenal,
Wow.
isn't it? Just last year. I have so much fun telling people that.
So
I tell that
can you elaborate because I'm a little bit lost. When you say a new brain,
you
what
get
does
a new brain. Your brain is changes during those phases of your life.
huh.
You will have a brand new brain after menopause. Women will have a brand new brain. And the really wonderful thing about it, because many women through perimenopause will complain about, I'm losing my brain, I'm forgetting, I didn't sleep last night, I'm getting hot sweats, or now I'm freezing cold. But after that's all over, they get this new brain. And here's what the scientist says. You now have, oh, I have to say this. You now have a new brain that gives us emotional mastery, not overacting to negative situations, not sweating with small stuff, caring less about things that no longer serve us, more self-confidence, more determination, more sense of our worth, more ability to sustain joy, and more empathy. That means that we are incredibly powerful and all ready to set the world on fire when we get through that part of our life. We are not less than, we are now better than we'll ever be. But the lies and false narratives that go around, particularly around sexuality, that because our fertility has ended, so is our sexuality, and that is not true. Sex gives us health and emotional benefits. And you can enjoy that. And the people who do enjoy sexual pleasure will live longer. And we also have a lot of documented research about how sexual pleasure helps us both emotionally and physically. So I suffered through this phase on my own. I couldn't do hormones because at the time that the hormones were available to us, it was called Premarin. It was a female horse's urine. You're nodding your head, Peter. You know that.
Yeah, yeah, I knew pregnant mare serum. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know if it was bad or good, but I kind of had a psychological negative reaction to it, so I didn't take it. And then in 2002, a health study came out that basically said all hormones are horrible. Hundreds of thousands of women stopped taking Premarin. They said it causes cancer. And for the next, again, maybe 15 to 20 years, we were in this no person's land of getting help for us. Now we've discovered that was bogus research. It was manipulated. And now there's a lot more available on the marketplace for women. But at that time, I didn't have any other options. So I did discover solutions for my two issues. So I did heal my vaginal dryness by discovering, actually at a dermatologist's office. I was now at that point 60 years old, and I went into the dermatologist's office, and he said the flushing on my face was called rosacea, and it was incurable. And liking to wear makeup, I did Dr. Google and found out foundations that were recommended by dermatologists, and they had an ingredient in it I had never heard of before called sea buckthorn. It is an ancient plant, a very nutritious plant. It's actually grown in the Himalayas. And it's actually grown in parts of Canada. And so I took it for the rosacea to help me. Within 6 months, my rosacea was gone. And then I looked into this wonderful plant and discovered that it was also very effective for the nutrients that it gave into your body and for a lot of other solutions. Then I got a diagnosis of breast cancer, and I had to have radiation. And I had read about sea buckthorn healing radiation. And so I took the oil and put it on my chest. And after each of my treatments, I didn't burn and my skin didn't deteriorate. So sea buckthorn are these tiny little orange berries. They are a deciduous shrub, and the oil is made from the flesh and also made from the tiny seeds inside. Now, going through radiation was also an emotional and traumatic and upsetting experience. And at that time, the state of Washington had legal medical cannabis, and I was able to qualify for a license. And so I got some cannabis. And I know that I listened to one of the people that came on and talked about cannabis and CBD being healing. I listened to every minute of that talk, and I went, yes, yes, yes. Cannabis is also an ancient plant that has many, many medicinal benefits. And so I took the cannabis to help me with my X-ray, the radiation treatments, and then found that it's a natural aphrodisiac and has been used as a natural aphrodisiac again for thousands of years. So here I got through this. I did heal my vaginal dryness. I healed my sexual desire. And my husband says, "Okay, Carol, write a book." Well, I went like, I've written a lot of stuff. I've never written a book like this. So he said, get help. And I did. I put an ad out in a website that was authors finding writing help. And Molly Carter answered my ad. She's 36 years younger than I am, but she's always had an interest in helping people with sex and sexuality. She's also a medical health and research writer. And we joined forces together. And then we truly started in on, okay, what's going on here? What does this phase of the life mean for women? And it all starts in our brain. Our brain is our primary sexual organ. Our brain is our command center for everything in our body. So I began to do a lot of research about the brain and what happens when we go through our life. We form mindsets about our experiences. I know that word's been around for a long time. People have mindsets about who they vote for, what they eat. They come from our religion, our faith, our nationality, where we live, what we like, what our upbringing was. And unfortunately, the mindset about sex tends to be kind of negative or scary, or I don't want to talk about it,
Mhm.
or I never got any sex education. So there's all this dark mystery, or it's not appropriate to talk about it. So I really dug into the research about brain. Through the capacity, what's called neuroplasticity,
Hmm.
our brain can be changed through our thoughts and our actions. And there's documented research that people were very persistent and driven to have something happen in their life, and they had to change their mindset. And so, another thing that we do in the book, we talk about how to do that. What is your mindset now about sexuality and your sexual experiences? And if you really want to have that back in your life, consider this. So, there are solutions for the physical issues that you go through, not the body changes that you have. And a lot of what you have to do happens up here.
Right.
And it's not easy to overcome. The saying that you can't heal what you don't feel. And if we get into a rut in a relationship where we haven't had intimate connections with our spouse or our partner, or even with ourselves, masturbation has also been a no-no in many different cultures.
Mhm.
My husband says we got to drop the term masturbation and call it self-pleasure. Sexuality, human sexuality is an inherent treasure. Human pleasure, sexual pleasure is a human treasure. Everybody can take part and have sexual pleasure. And if you know your own body, you can start there. So we also talk about self-pleasure. We also give information to women if they don't have it about their genitalia
Mhm.
and explaining how that happens and how it changes. Um, so that's kind of the bulk of it.
Mhm.
Um,
So Carol, I'll just jump into here because you talk about having to change your mindset, basically, you're changing your brain. How, if sexual pleasure is really all in the brain, how do you change that? Like how would a woman go about doing that? Or not just women, but I'm
well, men too.
men
Everybody,
too. Right.
everybody. I
Hmm.
think first of all, people have to be informed. I wish that we had decent, valuable sex education. And not just how not to do something and all the taboos and make it very scary for our young people. And then what are the opportunities to get a sex education when you get to be middle-aged? Where do we learn any of this?
Hmm.
So it starts with um, women or men will have to say, I want to, this is important to me. I would like to pleasure myself, not feel guilty about it, enjoy it. It's a positive process and determine that they want to do that. So I always say, yes, start with what do you want? And also step back a little bit and saying, how are you hurting? And get in touch with that. Again, you can't heal what you don't feel.
Feel.
So I encourage people, I did it for myself. I wrote down all the reasons why maybe this was the end of my sex life. And then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute now. What have I got going on that's really good for me right now? And then maybe it could be even better if I have this happening to me. And I have to give people a value proposition, and I do it in my book.
Hmm.
What's the value proposition? You know, businesses have value propositions. Why do I want to buy a business's product? Because if you buy my product, this good thing's going to happen to you and this good thing's going to happen to you. Well, we got to sell a value proposition for positive sexuality
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
to human beings. That there's besides making babies, besides fertility. We have this wonderful ability to have sexual pleasure. It's our inherent ability. So let's focus on that. What do you have to do? So I give a process. It's not that complicated, but again, it has to be, do you really want to change? And
Mm.
I hope that in my writing, and there are many, many other books that I cite as sources, it's a really wonderful thing to take advantage of it.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to jump in and go in a slightly different direction, if I may, Carol. Um, do men go through a similar hormonal change later in life that obviously can't be the same as menopause, despite the similarity of the letters, men on pause, but testosterone levels drop, don't they, as men age? Does
Yeah.
this tend
Well,
to reduce
the whole
sexual
thing,
desire amongst men?
well, absolutely. And I think for men, it's you understand all human beings get a new brain at puberty. Stops for men. Women get it after
Yes.
pregnancy, and then after menopause. So for men, it really tends to be, and they have Cialis, erectile dysfunction.
Mhm.
And they have that drug. Does that mean just because their penis is erect, they're going to have pleasurable sex? Another thing that I think we're fighting up against the women are Hollywood portrays a man having an erected penis and sort of pumping it into a woman's vagina. That is not sexual pleasure. One of the things I talk about is if it's important to you to have intimacy by yourself or with your partner, go away from your normal routine. Set up a time for that. Make that important part of your relationship. Plan for it. You'll anticipate it. Esther Perel has written a book you know, about eroticism being alive and vital.
Hmm.
We forget all those dimensions of sexual pleasure. It isn't just having sexual intercourse, which isn't going to benefit a woman's clitoris necessarily. Um, and it's kissing, it's hugging, it's touching, it's smelling, it's talking, and being open enough. We talk about communication. The hardest thing that human beings do is to be able to talk. And
Hmm.
even partners have a hard time doing that. Many couples will go in for therapy and it starts a long list, something like, well, he does this and she does that. And I got 3 kids to raise and I got to get my job. I mean, we have so many pressures on our life that we often think, well, that's not really important. But then marriages begin to disintegrate. People get unhappy. Maybe they will say, okay, I'll resign myself. He's a good person. She's a nice woman. I love my kids. I love my family. And I just say is, why when you can have so much more? You don't have to give up on this.
Right. So, Carol, what can women do specifically to give them back the desire for intimacy?
I think, well, everybody's different.
Sure.
Everybody's different. And
Hmm.
so I think that I hope that my title of the book captures people's attention. I think the really good news is that we're having so much now focused on the perimenopausal phase of our life.
Hmm.
Uh, People are openly talking about it without embarrassment. These are well-known women. And again, what I want to do though is move it forward because people are going to say, oh, well, she's so glamorous. Look who she's married to. She makes lots of money. It's okay for her to talk about that. But I'm just kind of an average person, and I don't make $1 million with each film that I have. And what I want to say is these women are wonderful for doing this, but I'm pretty average. There's nothing special about me. I just did this on my own with some help. And I'm trying to say, if I could do it, women can too. Other women can too, who we think of as more average, more in the middle. Okay. And there'll be some women who have absolutely no interest, and that's fine. That's their choice. I just want to say, don't give up. That you can have this back in your life and it can enrich yourself personally as well as your relationship.
Peter?
So here's one for you that just occurred to me while you were talking about that. What advice can you give a man who would like to continue a sexually active life into his later years and is capable of doing it, but has a partner who is totally disinterested for any number of reasons, and communication doesn't help? Um, and I think many men trapped in that situation do not want to have an affair. They're not prepared to go
Right.
and pay a prostitute for sex. So many men feel trapped. What is the solution if the
I'm
woman
not a
doesn't want to do
therapist.
anything?
I don't have a solution for that. I think that every couple or every pair will go through their own relationship. And I think that there
Okay.
are many men who will want to have that, but won't bring it up, or their wife will say, well, those days are past.
Hmm.
And there are many sex therapists out there that will take a couple through that. I'm not doing that. I'm
Okay.
raising the issue by saying, this is what happens to us. There are some solutions for this. And there are also hormones now that are being recommended that are far better than I ever had an option for. But what I like about what I chose is the subtitle of my book is Transforming Your Sexual Pleasure Through Mindset with Healing and Aphrodisiac Plants.
Hmm.
I'm biased to what's natural. And
Yes.
that doesn't always mean that it's good, but that
Mm-hmm.
is my bias. So when I was able to find two ancient plants that have a record and research, with cannabis is a little bit more iffy. We're starting to get some research on cannabis, but it used to be used as medicine for a long time all
Hmm.
over the world and including our country.
So tell
So
us
I
a
said
little,
communication is so important. I mean,
right.
people have to sit down and say, this is what I want. And although we're not psychologists, Molly and I have come up with the way in which you can broach the subject,
Okay.
which takes courage. Now, there's one other thing I didn't mention. When I began to write my book, I began to think about, well, it isn't just sex. There's this thing called love.
Mm.
And I wasn't happy. I couldn't find any definition for love. Oh, I talk about a noun, but I wanted to have it as a verb. What does it really mean to say that you love somebody? Could you think about all the things in life? If you don't have any more sexual relations or you don't have any children in your life, what is the thing that's most important to people? To have love in your life. So I had to find a definition for love that was going to work for me. So I came up with one. And I said, love is accepting my vulnerabilities and others, and then connecting with. And I came up with 36 states of being that to me demonstrate love. I put them in alphabetical order. There's no mystery. You could get 10 of them right now. Starts with appreciation, kindness, integrity, honesty, laughter, joy, empowerment, creativity. I mean, we have so many different ways that we interact with people, showing them and demonstrating love. So my definition of sex says love is the foundation. And so it wasn't just about that, because to me, the two go together. And if you don't have sex, let's take a look at love. And a
Hmm.
lot of it starts with self-love. If you've been raised and to be told that self-pleasure is bad and is a sin, how can you love yourself? How can you take pleasure in your own body? And I think that's sad. So I hope again that I can inspire women to say there's nothing wrong with it. And self-pleasure will give you the same physical and emotional benefits. Because in the end, you're loving yourself, taking advantage of all the different gifts of feeling and thinking and making decisions and choices that you have available to you.
Carol, can you tell us more about the aphrodisiac plants that you mentioned in your book?
Yeah. Well, it's cannabis.
Okay.
See, buckthorn doesn't have any aphrodisiac effect. It certainly has effect on your health, which is really important. If you're having vaginal pain, it's not going to be comfortable. And so it's very, very important to heal that. And that is what sea buckthorn does without using hormones. And then you get a lot of other nutrients into your body that are beneficial for other parts of your body. And again, that's all very well documented. It's documented in the website in which I get my sea buckthorn from, and also in my book. As far as cannabis is concerned, one does have to be careful about that. Number one, not every state in our country has legal cannabis. They may have medical cannabis. So many people my age are now using cannabis for pain and for sleep. And I also use a cream for arthritis on my hand. I
Hmm.
don't take any medication. The other thing I talk about in my book, the food that we eat are the vitamins and the nutrients that our body needs. And so I'm really pretty careful about that and strict about that. So I think I also put in a reference for how important it is to eat the right foods and get the right nutrients.
Mhm.
In terms of cannabis, one must, number one, in my age category, many people take a lot of drugs. And so it's extremely important that you go to, I think it's drugs.com or drugsdx.com and find out any, you list the medication that you have and make sure there's nothing there that's going to be harmful to you or work negatively with the medication that you're taking. And once you check that out, I do give some guidance on how to try it out and see that you like. I'm very careful about that because everybody is different. But we do have so many more opportunities to take cannabis in an easier way. I do not smoke. So the nice advancements that are happening, and particularly in my state of Washington, we have edibles and we also have beverages now. And the thing about a beverage, which I prefer, particularly for my age group, is cannabis as fat and water don't mix. So to get the cannabinoids into the the endocannabinoids are in our system. To get the cannabinoids into our system, they have a technology that emulsifies it. So when I take a little bit of a drink, I'm drinking the cannabis, taking in the cannabis, and within a short period of time, I'll begin to have its effect. And I recommend that everybody, if they're going to try to experiment, they go to a dispensary that has legal cannabis. May even have somebody who does something with medicinal cannabis, and maybe perhaps try a beverage, take a small amount, and go to the right setting. Be relaxed, have lots of water by your side, put on some nice music, and just drink a little bit and see the effect that comes on to you because everybody's different. And what happens with cannabis is you get to be very present. You kind of forget a lot of other things, you get to relax, and it gives you an opportunity and puts you into the mood for enjoyment, sexual pleasure. It can put you in enjoyment for eating, right? For drinking wine or having a sundae or dessert or going out for a walk in nature. Cannabis enlightens us and kind of dumps the negative stuff out of our head and puts and elevates our sensory feelings. So then the women
Interesting.
can see, and men can, well, the men are different, but the women can see how they feel, and then you plan for your intimacy. I call them play dates. And I don't believe in the spontaneous stuff. One of the things I don't like about Hollywood movies is there the woman's in bed. Maybe she has some curlers in her head. She's all ready to go to bed. Her hubby gets in there and he starts to snuggle with her. Okay, honey. Nah, nah. Make it something that you go to. You could go out to dinner, you know, watch porn if you choose to, read poetry to each other, whatever it is. But say, this is the time when you and I are going to be making love and enjoying each other and giving and receiving pleasure from each other. And so I believe that you should set time aside for that.
Carol, you've touched on this, but I know you know a lot more about it. Tell our audience some reasons why sex and intimacy and self-pleasure is important. What are the health benefits?
My goodness, I have a whole list of them. It helps our physical and our mental. I mean, it really is a long list. You can go online and you could see it in my book. Our blood pressure, our digestion. I mean, there's just so many different things that have been documented. If you want, I can try to find the list for you. To me, it's just a list, and I don't think it's going to. Okay, let me see here. Okay. It boosts our immune system. Okay. It increases our pain tolerance. It reduces symptoms of migraines, improves memory, increases circulations, raises DHEA, an anti-aging hormone that repairs tissues, including fine lines and wrinkles, decreases incontinence by strengthening the pelvic floor, improves our smell, our blood pressure level post-coital is lower. We protect against sexual pleasure, and it's this pleasure, not coerced, okay? Sexual pleasure that is consented to. Protects against heart disease, dementia, and osteoporosis. How's that?
Wow,
Wow.
Okay. And then for emotional benefits, decreases the symptoms of depression and anxiety, reduce
yeah.
everyday tensions, promote good sleep habits, including falling asleep faster and staying asleep longer, enhance self-esteem and well-being, invigorate and re-energize us, and improve the quality of our lives. After I have a wonderful play date with my husband, he feels better about himself. I feel better about myself. We feel better about each other. And all those wonderful hormones and happiness is running around in our body and making us healthier.
So,
Very good.
Carol, when we talk about intimacy, we don't necessarily mean sex, right? I mean, there could be whatever that means between couples. Intimacy could be hugging each other. It could be just whatever, right? And we're not necessarily
And
talking.
intimacy means, when I use intimacy, intimacy again is one of my definitions of love. You connect with intimacy. That means when I am seriously in pain, I can call up any one of my friends and tell them some parts of my life that are very intimate and private, and I have trust with them. That's another part of loving somebody. So again, my definition of love includes intimacy, and it's not necessarily sexual. It's the fact that you have to be, if you want to be intimate with people, you have to be able to trust them and know that they're going to listen to you and help you and encourage you. So you're absolutely right. You're not intimate and telling if you're having a trouble with your work or something with somebody that's just a casual friend, would you? But
Right.
if you're having a situation at work or with your children or a teenager, you may talk to another friend who's gotten through that period in your life and say, I'm having so much trouble with Gerald,
Right.
and share that. And it's painful for us to share things that are going wrong in our life sometimes. But again, when we do that, we get more love in our life.
Right.
Wow. We are running a little bit short of time. So, Carol, do you want to hold your book up again and tell our audience how they can get a copy?
Okay, is that visible?
Yes.
Yes, that's it. Perfect.
Okay. You can go to my website, drcarolrems.com, and on the website, you can order a book. If you don't go to the website, you can go to Amazon, and this is going to be a little bit of a test. We just discovered this in their search engine. Select books, and then after you get to books, put in the title of my book.
Okay.
You can also purchase my book on Barnes and Noble as well. So again, the easiest is to go to my website, and that way people will be able to check out pretty much an overview of what I've said right now and what's in the book. So I do talk about a little bit about cannabis, a little bit about sea buckthorn, a little bit about the whole idea about getting a new brain, and that our mindset is the most important thing about our ability to have sexual pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much for that, Carol. Another very quick one for you. For members of our audience, particularly women who are going through what you went through and don't know where to start, they can buy your book, sure. What's the first step that they should take?
Well, I think they need to go to their doctor.
Go to their
And
doctor.
absolutely. I mean, they have to. What other options do we have? I mean, they can go online. There's a lot written today about perimenopause. Dr. Gunter, I cite as many people as I can that also have a medical background and are now really making their mission to help women through perimenopause and through menopause. And
Great.
that's where we are right now. I said, I'm at the back end of it. But absolutely talk to your doctor. And if your doctor doesn't know anything, then seek somebody else out to help you. And also
Okay.
start looking for public television, PBS in our country had a documentary that was done on menopause. Thank goodness. Public television right in our country finally came out with the history of and the story about this to help people in our country. I'm assuming it's maybe available in Canada as well. I'm not sure. I don't know about that for
Quite
sure.
possibly. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Carol. That's very good advice for our audience. We really appreciate it. So back to you, Kathleen.
So, Carol, how do people contact you?
Again, they can email me at carol@drcarolrems.com.
Mhm.
They can go to my website. And the best thing of all is just say carol@drcarolrems.com. I'll be happy to answer any question. Um, People can take a look at the website, check me out, find out more about my background. And I'm on a mission now, Kathleen. Kathleen, this is what I really, really want to do. I said at 80 years old, I said, why am I doing this? And I said, it's just too important. And I'm an educator by training. And my whole thing when I was educator was find the knowledge that makes a difference in what people do, achieve, and feel. And I believe that I have found some knowledge that can help women in those areas.
I believe you have as well. So
Thank you.
thank Thankful for
Excellent.
you, Dr. Remz. Thank you so much for being on our show today. You've been a delight. And thank you all so very much for tuning into our show. And until next time, take care, everyone.